Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the My Greek Island podcast with your hosts Sifnos.Tune
and Maria Petrakou. Now today we're talking about an island that has been requested by one of our listeners and one of our followers on Instagram. So as you see, your wish is our command. So please keep those requests coming, and we will be scheduling in those episodes in order to give you those My Greek Island tips to take with you on your island of choice.
That's right. And can you remember how excited we were when we had that comment on the post? Like, can you do an episode on Sifnos? And we're like, yes.
Your wish is our command, I think, is exactly what I wrote.
Yeah, exactly. And luckily it's an island that you've been to, because we're only going to be doing islands we've been to so we can have an opinion on them. I mean, you went to it, I haven't been to it. But before we dive into Sifnos, if you're not following us on Instagram, you're not going to be able to send us a DM or comment on any of our posts. So head over now and hit that follow button on our Instagram handle at My Greek Island.
And also, if you do enjoy this podcast, please head over to the podcast of your choice and give us a rating and maybe a review, because it does help keep us coming back with more content.
So, without further ado, let's get into today's episode.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast, dedicated to take you, the wanderlust, on a journey through Greece.
There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next?
My Greek Island, with your hosts George and Maria.
So the island of Sifnos, located in the western part of the Kyklades, the Cyclades, but I think our islands should call them Kyklades, because that's what it is in Greek. And if you're learning Greek with us on the My Greek Island bite-size edition, you're going to get a bit more now. So if you're looking for those picturesque, Kykladic sort of whitewash house vibe, you won't be disappointed. Sifnos has been referred to as the most delicious Greek island due to its culinary scene. There's Maria licking her lips thinking, I had a good feast when I was on the island. So I'm looking forward to hearing about that. It's also famous for its ceramics and pottery, and that's attributed, thanks to my research, to the clay-based earth on the island, and the copious sun that blesses it throughout the year. It's also noted for its quaint villages. Maria, did you take many nice pictures of the villages?
I'm not sure if I took many pictures. I was too busy eating.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's what the island is famous for. It also has monasteries, churches, and general lots of sightseeing to keep you busy, not just from the beach. And one thing about these groups of islands in the Kyklades is that they can generally get quite windy, I think around August with the wind, the Meltemnia. And when I was thinking about Sifnos, I thought the name is quite onomatopoeic. Sounds like the wind, like wind sound. Sifnos. I don't know, that's what came to my mind when I was thinking about it. So Maria, can you tell our listeners when you visited Sifnos?
Yeah. So I visited Sifnos after we visited Karpathos in 2021, and it was early September. So if I recall correctly, I think we left for Sifnos on the 5th of September. On the 4th, I had a wedding of my friend Eleni in Athens, and then straight after we headed off to Sifnos with two friends of mine, and we combined it with an island called Serifos, which is actually one of the most popular destinations to combine with Sifnos. So you'll hear lots of people saying Sifnos Serifos, like it's literally like a very
It's like George and Maria. They go
exactly.
Like a pair.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we love an island combination. But when is the best time to go, and who is this island for?
So you can visit Sifnos from any time from June until the end of September, possibly even October if summer is a bit extended, which sometimes it is. And who's it for? Probably anyone. I mean, couples, friends, without kids, possibly even solo travel. Like, I would recommend it to anyone who's willing to have, who is looking for that style of island, loves a bit of food, and is willing to drive, because you do need a car to get around, although the distances are not at all big.
It's almost like we've planned this, because my next question is actually how are people going to get there? So can we fly?
Well, this is going to be a bit disappointing. Unfortunately, you can't fly to Sifnos, and the only way you're going to get there is with a boat. The island does not offer a domestic airport. So if you don't want to take the boat, maybe you've got a helicopter. If you do, take us with you.
Yeah, please take us with us so we can document the experience. Well, that would be a bit scared of a helicopter, to be fair, but I'm willing to try.
Okay. I've never been in one, but I'd be definitely willing to try. I don't think I'd be scared. But yeah. So you take the boat. There are daily routes from the main port in Athens, the port of Piraeus. Definitely a good connection with the other islands in the Kyklades, for example, Milos, Kimolos, Kithnos, and as mentioned previously, Serifos. And also during the summer months, you can sometimes find routes from the port of Lavrio, which is the port that we left from last year to go to Kithnos.
And that's really good, because you can do some sightseeing.
Yeah, and you can definitely visit oh dear, why is my brain stopped? Sunio. Okay, you can visit Sunio on your way to Lavrio. And yes, given the location of Serifos and the good connection that it has with other islands, if you do want to do an island combo, we did mention Serifos at the beginning, but you could also potentially do Milos, which is literally next door to it, or Kimolos, which is just a bit further down.
And I know that before you go to any island, you do extensive research about where to stay. So where would you recommend someone stay? Did you stay in the main town? And how long did you go there? Because you combined it, so...
Yeah, so we stayed in the main town, which is referred to on most islands as Chora. But Chora in Sifnos is actually Apollonia. So that's where we stayed. We stayed for 4 days, although I think the perfect amount of time would probably be 5 days to get a good feel of the island. Although if you wanted to stay longer and take it a bit slower, I would also recommend that too. It's definitely a very, it's a very chilled island, but not too quiet, if that makes sense. And the reason we chose the main town to stay is that you can be on foot at night, and there's many options for food and drink. Although it's not by the beach, so you will not be on the beachfront. So if that's important for you, then maybe that won't be the right choice. But if I was to say somewhere else, other than where we did stay, which I absolutely loved and would definitely recommend, another part of the island that I would possibly stay is the village of Artemonas, which is literally only 1.5 kilometers from the main town anyway.
And I think, as I mentioned in the intro, there are quite a few churches on the island.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a few. It's quite a lot. The rumor was that there is 365 churches, one for each day of the year. However, one of my favorite photographers, Marina Vernikos, who also actually has heritage from the island of Sifnos, I think in 2011 completed a project which was called 235 Sifnos, and she literally photographed, I think in every season, every single church of the island. and discovered that there's actually 235 of them and not 365. And I don't know if she's going to listen to this episode, but Marina, we would love to host you on this podcast and for you to give us your experience of Sifnos, especially having heritage from the island and going there. I think she must go there, I think, multiple times a year.
Yeah, and on the topic of churches, because I haven't been to Sifnos, what I also do whenever we go to an island with Maria, and it has not failed me yet, is I usually go on Google Maps and I zoom in on places to like look at what could potentially look good. And as I was doing my research for Sifnos, I found Panagia Kitriani, which is an island just off Sifnos. It's uninhabited island. And has one of the oldest churches of Sifnos, and there's a traditional festival that takes place there in early October. It's only accessible by boat, so whatever time of year you're there, you could only get there by boat, uninhabited. Not gonna lie, it looks pretty epic. I think I'd want to go there for the festival, but early October, you're kind of off-season vibes. But I'm sure it would be really nice to experience it.
I know what we're doing on October then, George.
Yeah, yeah. 1st of October, let's go to Sifnos.
Let's go to Sifnos. But I also want to mention here on the topic of churches that one of the most photographed spots in Sifnos is a church called the Church of the Seven Martyrs. Martyrs, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, martyrs. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's literally in the area Gastro. You need to walk to it. That I do have a very good shot of, by the way, a very good video. I woke up at sunrise and went and...
It needs to be on the Instagram.
Yeah, it's on there already, but we will repost it just for you, for everyone listening to this episode. And then one more very important church on the island is the monastery of Chrysopigi, which is literally on the beach. It's on the coast, so it's a very beautiful spot as well. And also epic for pictures.
Nice. I mean, if we were together, we would probably be visiting the churches on the way to my favorite part of an island, which is the beach. Take me to the beach, Maria. Tell me a bit about the beach scene.
Okay, so the beaches in Sifnos have this amazing golden sand and these crystal clear blue waters. Some of the beaches that I need to mention are not protected by the wind, and as you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, it can get quite windy, so I would recommend checking the weather before heading to the beach. Now, the most famous and known beach is probably Platis Yalos, and this beach is one that can get quite windy, which unfortunately I didn't get to enjoy this beach because it was super windy when I was there.
Oh yeah, I remember you were saying, you were like,
yeah,
so
it's
windy.
also, and it's also the biggest beach, and it's organized. It's very organized. And one of the other organized beaches of the island is called Vathi. But then on the unorganized side, we've got a beach that has, it's two names, very similar, but you do hear both of them. And that is Vlichos, or they also refer to it as Glifos Beach. And it's a very small trek to reach this beach. And I have thought about all of you guys. I have saved stories on the highlights of the Instagram account to show you exactly how to reach this beach. It's unorganized. It has natural shade from the trees, and it's also actually protected from the wind. So if it is windy, this is where you need to go. But just bear in mind that it is unorganized. And the last one, which is probably one of my favorite beaches, is the beach of Figiada. This would have been George's favorite beach for sure. Because it's
I was literally going to say, this sounds like my vibe.
And the reason is it takes 1 hour trekking to get there each way, with the difficult trek being the way back because it's uphill, but it's doable. And
you survived.
Although I did get vertigo that day, unfortunately. And the other reason why it will be George's favorite beach is because it's full of goats.
Oh, I love goats.
Yeah,
I love goats and alpacas.
Yeah, so you'll
Um,
definitely enjoy that beach, George.
So I'm guessing that wasn't your favorite beach, but which one was?
So I think my favorite was Vilijos, but I also loved Figueada. So between the two, I don't know, actually, both of them were my favorite.
Mm. So moving on to the food scene, and before we started recording this episode or planning for it, you said it has it's a gastronomical heaven, the island of Sifnos, and I was really like, why is it seen as a food paradise? I didn't know much about it, and doing some research and reading the show notes, I was like, wow, there's a lot to learn. So why does this island in particular offer exceptional food experiences?
Yeah, so it is very well known for its gastronomic experience, and I kid you not, there's so many good places to eat. And on whether on the gourmet side or on the traditional side, there's so many good options to eat food in Sifnos. The island owes its foodie paradise reputation to an award-winning chef who is initially from Sifnos, and his name is Nicolas Tselementes. And I think until we recorded this, George, you weren't aware of him.
Yeah, I literally I had no idea who it was, and I mean that's just my ignorance. And I obviously did some research and looked up Wikipedia. Other sources are available, to find out that he was a Greek chef and author of the early 20th century, and he's actually considered as one of the I think it was like the most influential cookery writers of modern Greece, specializing not only in Greek but also French cuisine. So it's really nice to see that they do like a gastronomy festival in his honor. Like I literally had no idea about him, so now I'm learning as well. So
Yeah.
thank you.
And
Tell
if
us a
you're
bit more.
and if you're interested in going to the Gastronomy Festival, which is in his honor, as George mentioned, it happens every year at the beginning of September. I unfortunately missed it. So if you're there, definitely look it up. And if you're a foodie, this is definitely an island that you want to be visiting. Now, I'm going to name a few local dishes. The first which is very famous, is revizada, which is effectively a chickpea stew with onions, and they cook it in a pot. And I don't even know. I think it's cooked for like God knows how many hours, days. I don't recall exactly.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a dish out there for our vegans as well, because it's a vegan dish. Then the next dish which the island is famous for, which I didn't try, is mastello, which is a lamb stew. And then also it's very famous for a local cheese called manura, which is a semi-firm goat and sheep cheese. On the sweet side, I tried both. You definitely need to try the amigdalota, which are almond sweets. And I imagine these two are vegan but I would need to cross-check that. And also I think they're gluten-free because they're made with almond flour. So they're like they're soft and they're very sugary, and they're made with almonds. They're very, very nice. And then they also make a cake called melopita, which means honey pie. And it's actually made from local honey and cheese. And there's a huge honey production on the island of Sifnos. And the way they make it with the local cheese and local honey. And it's effectively like a baked cheesecake. So definitely worth trying.
To try. Sorry, random tangent. Amigdalota, is that what they give at weddings? Or not?
No.
In the little
I don't know if they give them at weddings. They definitely. I don't recall having gone to a wedding and receiving an amigdaloto, but I'm sure that some people must give them at weddings.
Maybe. Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to mention places that I ate. There's loads of stories saved on the Instagram highlights saved with the title Sifnos. So if you want to check out where I ate, and I did not stop eating the 4 days, honestly, So head over to Instagram and check out those highlights if you want to see exactly where I ate and what,
Yeah.
because I posted a lot of food on that trip.
Lovely. And at our Instagram page at My Greek Island, for those restaurant recommendations and food, so you can see what you potentially are going to eat. So we've talked about beaches. What other points of interest are there on the island?
So you mentioned at the beginning pottery. So you can actually visit many pottery studios, would I refer to them? And you can see people making pottery the way that they've been made in Sifnos, which is a very fun thing to do and interesting.
And buy your own little bit of Sifnos to take home.
Exactly. And then other than the churches and the beaches and the food that we've mentioned, I'm going to mention two more things that I think are very interesting to see in Sifnos, and that would be the castle, which is Gastro, which is built on a hill, and it's the old castle with the little narrow streets. And it's got lots of houses. It's the old settlement. Many people stay there as well. I'm not sure I would recommend it because there's not really. It's a bit further out from the rest of the stuff, but I would definitely recommend it for an afternoon stroll before sunset and enjoy a nice evening drink. And also, FYI, I did this 2 days in a row. It is the best spot of the island to watch the sunrise. And this is also where you can see great views and also walk down to the famous church mentioned at the beginning, the Church of the Seven Martyrs. Then the last
usually
thing...
usually sunrise has less people going to it than sunset because no one's going to get up at like 6 a.m., are they?
Except me.
Apart from you and I.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. So
yeah, there was no one. I think I was the only person watching the sunrise those 2 consecutive days. And then I also mentioned it as a second option to stay, which is 1.5 kilometers from the main town of Hora, Artemonas. It's a very picturesque village, some amazing neoclassical buildings for those that enjoy architecture, etc. And top tip, you can climb to the top of the hill. There's 2 windmills and you can get amazing panoramic views of the castle and of the island of Antiparos.
Oh, lovely. So you can see another island in the distance.
Exactly.
Lovely. I mean, to say that it's like so big. Did you get any pottery to bring back?
I didn't. And that is one thing that I do regret.
So we have to go back and get some. Maybe we could look up if you can make pottery.
Yeah. I think you can. You can go and do a workshop. And probably the reason why I didn't get any pottery because I was too focused on buying amygdaloda to take back with me.
The sweets.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. So before we conclude and wrap up on this episode, are there any other top tips that you would like to share with our listeners? Maybe something around the windy season or where to stay or...
So, number one, as mentioned at the beginning, I personally would recommend combining it with Serifos. The 2 islands, the vibe, and definitely go well together, although they are quite different. And we do need to do an episode on Serifos, actually. Then the next one I would say is you don't necessarily need to stay at a hotel. I would definitely on the island of Sifnos recommend potentially booking a holiday home or an apartment. They are absolutely beautiful. We stayed in a 2-bedroom apartment with the 2 friends that I went in Hora, and it was. I regret actually not taking a video of it to show everyone because it was absolutely beautiful. And then the last tip, which again probably mentioned throughout the episode, is you will need a car. Small distances. We had a car with us. We actually had it with us from Athens and returned it to Athens, so that we literally had 1 car from beginning to end, and then we took it with us to Serifos as well. And it does help to have a car on these islands. The roads are actually probably one of the best that I've experienced on a Greek island before, but it makes your life so much easier to be independent and move around.
Yeah, and of course, if people can't actually fly there, then it's such a good kind of Serifos, Sifnos, and Athens to be combined with our
Exactly.
listeners coming over, having a little 48 hours in Athens, which we'll be doing an episode on, get the ferry, do a few islands, then go back. I think that is
Yeah.
someone's holiday sorted right there. If you do that, let us know. But as we come to the end of today's episode, should we give our listeners our Greek word of the day? And since Sifnos is very, as I know now, very well known for the gastronomic experience, why not give the word for gastronomy, which is, of course, a Greek word, which is Gastronomía. And I'm going to do a bit of a reference from a film here, Maria. But surprise, surprise, gastronomy is a Greek word. So just like the film, tell me any word, and I will show you that the root of that word is Greek. And it would be really great if we could have that clip put into some of our episodes without like infringing on copyright. I don't know how that would work, but that scene, the film, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. So my big fat Greek wedding. So anyway, the word for the day is gastronomia. Gastronomia.
Gastronomia. Brilliant. I'm actually thinking of that scene now in the movie and actually laughing in my head and out loud. But and I actually want to say it, but I'm not gonna. But anyway, I think we can say that's a wrap for Sifnos, and I really hope that the listener that requested this episode enjoys it and gets the tips and tricks that we want you to have to accompany you on this trip. And we definitely want to hear about how you found Sifnos, and of course, don't forget to tag My Greek Island when you're posting on Instagram
Exactly.
about the island.
And yes, get in touch because we love to hear from our listeners, and our little group chat goes off as soon as we've got our listeners like interacting with us because we love it every time. It never gets boring.
Yeah,
It only gets more exciting.
it does.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We do have a few more episodes that we need to plan based on feedback and requests from our listeners. So they will be coming. So keep an eye out for them. And do keep sending in your requests. So thank you everyone for listening. We will see you on the next episode.
Yassas.
Yassas.
Right, my Greek Islanders. This comes to the end of another episode of this podcast.
Now you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it to share the love with the My Greek Island community, where everyone is welcome. And
don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And maybe give us a little rating from wherever you're listening to us from, so you are notified every time a new episode drops. And if you have any suggestions or requests, get in touch.
And for those of you visiting Greece, don't forget to tag at My Greek Island on Instagram for a future feature. Until then, see you later, or as they say in Greek,
Ta leme.